Welcome to Duel podcast with myself, Alicia, and Megan Hines, where we discuss the challenge every week. We are back to discuss episode 10 of the challenge, and this week we had a bit of a meltdown, starting with Devin's departure that led to Michelle uh, having a meltdown, and then also a midlife crisis meltdown from Johnny, which kind of was understood why he had a meltdown, but I think that it was just funny to see how he really took over this episode and you know what, gave us reality TV. I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, it's just classic Johnny Bananas. Like we knew like him being a target would not bode well for whoever was gonna be in power. And the hand just bought back basically with Bananas coming back, being a target and Tori just like now playing Devin's game in his honor. Like that man got eliminated. What grand scheme of plan was it that you had in that now Bananas is the now big public enemy number one, which obviously every time he's on the show, he is. But him being a target, it's like, sure, cool. That man is very vindictive. We all know that. And how the chaos happened this episode and what we saw in the preview for next, it's going to get even worse for Tori because now she's actually made an enemy out of Bananas and they're supposed to be friends. But with Bananas now being a target, and it's being good for Tori's game, um, it's very weird because not only is he a target, but Derek and Ryan are also targets. And those are not two people that you would think to actually pit against Bananas to try and take him out. Those are my first two picks to do that. So I get the logic of putting two best friends as targets, but those aren't the two people I would think you would want to potentially put against Bananas.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that pick came from or her thought process with Tori. I mean, obviously Ryan had been a target at that point, but I think it was just Vendetta trying to get Bananas into the arena for elimination for Devin's sake, in which, again, Tori was trying to play Devin's game and came up with a lot of different excuses this week on why she was choosing uh, Bananas, and it just really didn't add up. Like, if you're going to take the shot, just say you're taking a shot and just call it. Like, she came up with 50,000 different excuses for her reasoning, and you know, it ended up costing her in the end. But something kind of worked out for her favor. So it was just interesting to see how that played out. But they definitely shouldn't have been targets at the same time because it didn't even make sense.
Yeah, and our other targets now, not only with the guys, but it's Aviv, Jenny, and Rachel who were also picked. And that's an interesting kind of group that Kylan picked last week. And luckily, we ain't see much smoke from them this week about that because this week actually ended up being a guys' week. And moving forward, every week will be based on a coin flip for who will be in elimination, whether it be a guys' day or a girls' day. And as like I said already, it's going to be individual. And people are playing in their areas, but it still be relying on those relationships to get them going far.
Yeah, I also think that just the factor of now not only it being an individual game, but when you lose the elimination or the challenge itself, whoever loses loses. Like it's more of an incentive for people to actually play the game rather than for whoever's in a target to, try to not lose. Like everyone is going to go into elimination whether or not you're a target or not, if you lose. So that's the only upside that I like to this twist. And then the only downside, of course, is them only doing single eliminations now. It's going to drag the season out a little bit further. I actually did like the double elimination thing just because it gets more people out quicker, but it's whatever.
Yeah, and also even if a certain gender's day, even if a woman loses, woman or man loses like that week, they'll get a penalty for the following week. So that is also an interesting caveat for the losers of the week as well. But in this daily challenge, they are playing a game called Fire Away. And this is basically very straightforward, where a cannon shot out some balls two at a time, and they would have to collect those two at a time to fill a cylinder at a station. And once full, they'll need to solve a puzzle that creates the number 40. And the first man or woman who will be done with that table will be the head of the table in the chamber and will have power for the week. And this daily challenge was very much straightforward. Some people just didn't figure out the actual instructions. They didn't abide by it. They're very confused.
As in who?
As in Ryan, unfortunately, because
Oh,
he was doing so well in the run back and forth to get the balls. But when it came to that puzzle, he thought he had to just build the puzzle on the blank side of it. He didn't realize that on the other side of the puzzle, it was the number 40.
yeah, he probably needed a pro tip to help him out on that end, but I thought it was actually cringe worthy to see Ryan fail so bad at the puzzle. The running back and forth is honestly straightforward. I think them not realizing where their stations were, like Bananas putting balls into Johnny's like target, and then also like it was a couple of different people who did that, and I was just like, are you not 100% sure like where your station is, or is the heat getting to you? I'm not sure what was happening, but that happened multiple times, and so I was like, okay, well, that's the start. But it was honestly Ryan with the puzzle this episode. Like everyone else did decently. Naya and Michelle definitely were going at it towards the end, trying not to see who loses. But Ryan in that puzzle, like, it's just I don't even know why he's here.
I don't know. I don't want to liken it to A, but because we haven't seen him in a long time, but he's just been like very like hosting with the social game, and he's not a threat, and so that's why he's still around. But he does nothing really to help himself. But he has people that will go to bat for him, but he doesn't move the needle for me in the game, and that's the downside of like seeing Ryan. Like he's just there taking up space. But um, everyone is gassed out, like you said. Like that heat was really getting to a lot of them, and everyone at one point, uh, Michelle just like had heat stroke at the end of it. But it was a really straightforward like with the puzzle. Like Kyland and Jordan and Josh made it to the puzzle. Top three to get to the puzzle at least. But Jordan was the one to really finish the puzzle and complete it, so he ended up being the man winner of the week. Tori is able to get the puzzle done first as well for the women, so she was the first woman to be done and the winner for the week for the women's side. Cara and Jenny got second and third respectively. Um, and like I said, as we kept seeing Ryan do the puzzle, he has had so many different mistakes. Like the first mistake was really putting two balls in Laurel Cylinder. Like that was the first mistake of the episode for me with Ryan. Like you said earlier, people were like not doing well with dealing with the heat and like the speed and endurance of it, but not clouding people's judgments. But off the bat, Ryan put his first two balls in Laurel Cylinder.
Yep, and it ended up. You thought it would have costed him at least, but he ultimately made the mistake in not figuring out the puzzles. I think everyone kind of finished around the same times, or at least staggered in that way in terms of who finished first and Jordan and Tori. And then surprisingly, Josh came in third, which I was like, that's interesting. But nonetheless, everyone also finished, at a, I guess, quote unquote, decent timing in this, given the circumstances of the heat. And it was really just Naya and Michelle who were duking it out. And I was like, okay, come on, Naya. Like, please do not embarrass me, sister. Like, get it together. And ultimately, Naya did get it together and she finished and she was not last. And that ultimately led Michelle being last. And Michelle, like you said, ended up having a heat stroke, a heat flash. She literally was losing her mind. She was going to quit. She couldn't, like, be on her side. Like, she was just like, I need water. I'm going to pass out this, da, 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 da. And I'm thinking, why she so dramatic? And then she gets in the truck with Olivia. She gets in the ambulance. And she's having a conversation with Olivia and expressing like she doesn't think she can do this. Like, she doesn't think that she is equipped to compete against these people. And I think for the first time, like, real shit, I feel Michelle kind of understood what we all have been seeing prior. It's like Michelle took her survivor game over here and has literally just used her social game to get her further in the game. And I don't know if she's had like super tough competition so far, because when Michelle first came in the game, Michelle was a threat. And then Michelle just created relationships and has been coasting for the most part in her alliances. And now that Devin also has left, she feels exposed. And I just thought it was a weird, like, interesting moment to see Michelle literally like freak the fuck out and honestly want to quit the game. And to have Olivia, obviously her friend, pipe her up and be like, I'm here, I'm with you, I'm supporting you, blah blah blah. It's like, all right, that's cool and fine, but you want to quit because Devin isn't here and you just don't think you can compete. Like, I'm not sure what to do with that information, Michelle. Like, to be honest, you shouldn't have just came. But she got it together. Ultimately, she didn't quit. Because if Michelle would have quit this week, to be honest, I was completely done with her. I'm already done with her, period. But if she really would have quit this week, I would have been like, all right, you do not need to come back on this show at all.
Yeah, that would have been like a very not great moment because I get it. Like but I'm like, the thing is for me, like, I get, like, you don't feel like you have a good kind of stake in the game with, like, not keeping up with people, but I feel like Michelle can keep up with people in the game and in these challenges, but she just has to readjust her mindset. Like, she's come from Survivor, like, she's played a social game, and she can't just, like you mentioned, like previously before, because the challenge is totally different from Survivor, where, yes, like, they have their own things on there, but this game is very different. You have to navigate different people's relationships. You can't just rely on certain people to keep you afloat, because that's not how this game works. Because at the end of the day, you just have to show, improve, and show up. But I don't also like the fact that she was like, oh, talking about everybody, all the women over here are athletes and, like, really about it. I'm like, not everyone needs to be an athlete to be on the show. You just have to be able to keep up. Like, I'm not saying go out and do CrossFit and run a marathon. Just keep up. Like, you have strengths that you can lean on in these challenges. You have the build to do that. You just have to just not practice, practice, and just get better at keeping yourself afloat before you come back on the show. Because I, like, with all the crap I do give Michelle, she's a good competitor at the end of the day. That's not her style of play. Sometimes I don't like it, but she's a good competitor and she can maintain with the best that we have so far. She just has to get that grit in her to continue on.
I mean, I'm not going to give her that much credit. I don't think that she can compete against Laurel and Cara, but she can hold her own against Naya. She can hold her own against Olivia. She can hold her own probably against Aviv. But, like, she's going against real competition in terms of the top of the top of Rachel, Laurel, Cara, even Tori. So, like, yeah, she's probably looking at herself stacking against this competition and seeing, like, I don't think I can do it. But once you're there, at least you have to try. So at least she stayed in the competition and she's going to continue on. We'll see how far she gets. If she makes it past the purge, if she makes it past even being targeted, you know. I think that now she's exposed. That's what's really hurting her game and why she's probably panicking out of, all of the reasons that happened this week for her.
Yeah. And like we said, Ryan's mistakes really let him be the last man standing and he's going to go straight to elimination. It was really down to him and Derek to figure out the puzzle. And Derek was the last one to finally get it completed. Ryan still could not figure it out because, like I said, that man decided to use the blank side of the puzzle, thinking that that's what the game was. When teacher was like, "Oh, you're done," it's like, "Huh? What?" It was supposed to be a 40, and I was like, "Well, good, good game. Like you can go now. Like it's." And this is a person that Tori thought could take bananas out. I'm sorry.
I mean, yes and no. I feel like with the challenge that they had in the elimination, like anything really could have happened. But time and time again, we see Ryan and his just blunders mentally in terms of what he's doing in the game. Obviously, he started in the challenge and then he continued on in the elimination and him just completely checking out. Not even checking out, but just like mentally messing up to the point where it costed him. But I mean, given that elimination, I'm like anything could happen. But in this situation, in terms of the challenge itself, yeah, Ryan just really messed up. And I don't. I mean, there was blockers that were in front of the station, so maybe he couldn't have seen what people were doing. But yeah, I'm glad that Derek didn't outright lose because then that would have been probably more contentious with Derek and Bananas going into elimination.
Yep, and like we said on the women's side, Michelle was the last person to be done, so she went to elimination as well. Also, we have another alliance that has formed this season, and we've seen them together post show. So now it makes sense on this collaboration of the ladies of leisure with Naya, Michelle, and Olivia. And that's a very interesting trio to make. What moves y'all about to make? That's I don't know.
I mean, I don't think any, to be honest. I think that they're all easy targets at the end of the day. Like, given the competition that's left in terms of the women, it's kind of looking like ladies of layup. Like, y'all really don't have much to give. Like, and I hate to say that about Naya because I root for her down, but like, unless she shows me something different, then that's what I'm gonna have to go with. And we already talked about Michelle, and I feel the same way about Olivia. Like Olivia, for all of her rookie season and all this other crap that went around, the hype around her, she hasn't really shown much. So yeah, it's also so late in the game. Like, what are they actually gonna do?
Nothing. Just still hang out by the pool, drink their drinks, and party. That's it. Cause like Olivia said, like they go on vacations, they go on yachts, they chill. They're ladies of leisure for a reason. They're just there. Um, but with Michelle also losing this week, she'll get the penalty for next week. And like I said, Ryan's gonna go into the arena, and Tori and Jordan are gonna determine the fate of Derek and Bananas going against Ryan. And in my mind, I was like, yeah, this is Bananas going in and coming back, like immediately.
I mean, I mean, maybe I was just being optimistic about Ryan's opportunity, but because anything could happen. Like we've seen Bananas getting beaten by some people, so and he's older. Even though, like Jordan has mentioned throughout this episode, like if you give Bananas more time in the game, he does get stronger. I was just like, oh, whatever. Maybe something could happen. But I think the chamber situation, how, Bananas addressed Tori and basically was like, you decided to play Devin's game, put me in, and now, you're basically trying to take a shot, which she should. But Banana's opportunity of saying like, yo, if you take the shot and you put me in against Ryan, 90% chance I'm coming back in the game. So now that puts a target on your ass. And now Tori has to live with that. And given that the fact that her relationship with Casey is now gone and her strong alliances with Devin included are gone, like she really has to figure out what game she wants to play, because she always plays like, oh, I'm cool with bananas and da 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 da. But playing Devin's game and having the chance to take a shot at bananas, you're putting yourself out on Fun Street. And I think this week we saw how the lines were drawn in terms of who's on whose side and alliances, in terms of Tori and Jordan, obviously, and then the effects of other people like Naya and also Michelle and Olivia being on that kind of side of the house. And then we have quote unquote bananas angels, which I hate, but includes Aviv and Rachel and Jenny. It makes sense that those women are aligned with him because they really don't have alliances on the other side. So this week, I think we just seen how the lines were drawn and how the numbers really play out towards the end of the game. And honestly, with so many people being connected, like at some point it's going to start being affected. We kind of see that in the preview for next week. But I just think that Bananas and Tori being the core central of this week and how that line is being drawn is like, all right, now we're trying to get down to the nitty gritty and get started. Like, basically, who's going to win this? Like, Jordan's trying to be in the background, but Jordan, you can't be in the background. Like, you're obviously one of the top two men left. So, what's going to happen? That's really how I want to see what's going to play out.
Yeah, because like even on the Jordan side of things, like he was like, oh, because Tori's gonna be picking the guy, like ain't no like heat on me if like we're in power again together. But I was like, well, in a sense, yes, it's still gonna be heat on you because y'all are attached okay at the hip at this point. Like you're now her number one person, but and vice versa. But he's just like, well, it's an individual game. It's cool. Like I got this on my own, and I can like just navigate so that if the guys are on the block, I don't gotta do nothing. But Sting still will roll back onto him. Like Banana said, like, yo, like you gotta pick a side. You can't just like stay in the middle, stay neutral, and just kind of like basically like slide your way through. Like you gotta like pick a side and like do something that is obsessive of sorts. Um, but I will say like in the chamber, Ryan and Derek, they were not trying to go against each other. Like that was the bottom line. Like one of them had to stay, and because they're besties, Derek was not about to try and go against that man. But like we said in Banana's case, he tried his best to sway Michelle away from Devin and said like saying basically like Devin was using her in the game, and that was the epitome of what he thought Michelle would be going through, but that's what Tori's going through. Because even though Tori and Devin they're attached at the hip, Tori basically adopted Devin's game and beef, all while being friends with Banana still. Like she literally chose a side. And that's what she had to do. But I will give her her credit for actually playing the game and throwing the shot at Bananas initially, because that and at the end of the day does help her in the long run, because that is a 7-time champion. You don't want that man in the final. Like you can't let him just like simmer and get hot later on. Like you have to strike by the iron side with whoever it is that you also put in at the target. Like as much as I say, yo, like yeah, I don't think Ryan could beat Bananas. Like, well, like I said, he is older, but I mean, at the end, it's still Bananas. He's still gonna find a way, but it is like here and there. But yeah, that was like my initial thought about the chamber clinic. I knew like he made a good point. I get in a sense what he was trying to do, but it made things even worse for Tori. And because they are also still friends, their friendship outside is like, is it gonna even like falter? Because I whenever we talk about like friendships and people making shots, you can't take things personal. But those lines are blurred between the both of them.
I mean, it's blurred with all of them. We saw how last week how they treated Josh, basically because he didn't quote unquote speak up for Casey or try to fight for Casey. It's like at the end of the day, Rachel made a decision for herself, and so supposedly did Tori. I mean, yes, Devin, she took the shot for Devin, but she was the ultimate decision maker in this because, like Jordan mentioned, or like I mean, it's mentioned now this week, is the women have the deciding factor of who goes in if they become a stalemate. So whether or not Jordan and Tori were gonna go at it, whether Bananas goes in, which was not gonna happen, Tori was the ultimate decision maker, and she did make that decision. But I just do think that now, like I said, the lines are drawn, and we're gonna see how like each side plays it out.
Yeah, definitely. I do. Yeah, I do. But it was just funny too. Also seeing Banana's mindset. Like, I don't care. I wish the MF would like throw the shot. I'm taking it, and you'll see what I'm about to do. Um, but he said that he was torn with how this even like came about, and he was like, yeah, he's just gonna just tread lightly, and he knows like it's gonna be an uphill battle for him dealing with the house and the lines being drawn. Um, did you think that Ryan? Well, Ryan had a fair shot either way, depending on what the elimination was, right?
No, I just think that this particular elimination gave him an opportunity to have a shot. Like if it was something more physical or hell, even a puzzle, we just saw Ryan flunder a puzzle. I mean, I'm not putting him up against Bennett. I just thought that this particular elimination, it just gave a fair ground of doing, like whoever wins wins. That was
Yeah,
just my thought.
gotcha. Because like I want to just like state the case. Like I'm not against Ryan for the general audience. I'm not against Ryan, but just given the track record that I've seen, and even though Bananas hasn't had that much of a hot streak lately as much, Ryan is a little um rusty with being in eliminations and stuff. So that's just how I was basing my opinion off of how this would go, given like if it was elimination or not. Like if it was something else, I didn't know. But in this elimination that we had, it was a fair shot. But he made some other blunders as well. Um, Also, before we got to the arena, actually, Tori and Rachel they have come to a agreement of sorts. They're kind of aligned now, even though Rachel is part of the Bananas Angels for right now. Tori and Rachel have come to a consensus to kind of be aligned with one another. Because Rachel is playing her own game, and she doesn't mind even working with Jordan.
I think Rachel was just making smart moves again that started from when she was alone and it has continued on. She's really trying to just self preservate herself at this point, preserve herself, I should say. But I think Rachel realizing, like, I may be aligned with Bananas here, but if the opportunity comes now with the Vacation Alliance numbers dwindling and Tori and her having the conversation, her saying basically like we're, the strongest women that are still left here, like we have an opportunity to, link up and kind of look out for each other. And honestly, the numbers on their either one of their sides, like they have different men that can support and get them to the opportunity to be in the final. So I think that them coming together, because they're not going to be able to take shots at each other, but them coming together be like, hey, you know what, if something happens on your side, I can work something out and vice versa. I think that just helps Rachel's game, and that just shows how, Rachel is probably one of the smarter people that is left in the game. And her being in line with Bananas is just like, listen, era one and era two had some kind of underlying understanding, but I just think it's smart for her to just play both sides and continues just to move on, whether she wins or loses. Like, just, I mean, I hope she wins, but like, just play both sides as much as you can until you get yourself to the opportunity to not even have to worry about all of the numbers anymore. And honestly, when she and Jordan had the conversation, and basically Jordan was like, listen, you're going to lose two people tonight that is in your lines in terms of either Ryan or Bananas. So whoever you lose, like Jordan wanted to slip into that position and be like, you still have a number here, which again works in Rachel's favor because she needs those men numbers to not only probably not be a target when it comes down to whoever comes back in the game, but also like moving forward when they're having their votes and it's probably a possible stalemate in the chamber. Like that man probably won't say Rachel's name more than whoever else is in there. So I just think it's smart for Rachel to just play both sides and kind of use that to her advantage.
Yeah, most definitely. They told Bananas the news that he's going in. It may be stupid and regulatory, but she's ready for the fire that comes back to her. We go to the arena, and the vote was obviously Bananas going against Ryan, and they're playing a game called Killer Quads, where they will be racing from one side of the arena to the other, within like a haystack maze, and they have to basically try and get the flag off the opponent's quad itself, and the first person to do so with 2 times will win and stay in the game. And Ryan made a whole bunch of blunders in this. This is like the Ryan and Bananas episode, basically, like with Ryan's mistakes. Like, here's what Ryan did in this, like, had no awareness.
I mean, it started off well. Basically, they're just playing a game of Mario Kart in real life. It started off well with Ryan, but then he was not looking where he was going, essentially, and kind of drove his quad into one of the haystacks that when he was turning the corner, and literally he just got stuck. And Bananas crept up behind him and stole the ribbon, and that's how we got it to 1-0. And I'm thinking, all right, you know what? Anything can happen again. This elimination was just a fair one. Like it wasn't anything that it was like clear cut straight. All right, bet. Like it'll be this person or that person. Like I just thought that Ryan had an opportunity to at least fight back. But I was wrong. And when we get to the second round, they were going around a lot, for the most part. Ryan started to catch up to Bananas, and I think everyone kind of was just like, okay, what's going on here? Like, are we going to get something? Is Ryan going to do something? Is he going to go? And, Bananas was playing with him and toying with him a little bit, stopping and slowing down so that he can catch up and doing all this, basically putting on a show, which, I mean, I don't mind because it is a show and it can get boring sometimes. But ultimately, when Bananas and Ryan was on that last lap of, going around, I don't know if Ryan was trying to do the Bananas thing where slowing down and speeding up to get, Bananas on the trail, or he literally just got stuck. And Ryan was just stuck there trying to move. It was just so painful to watch, honestly. I was just cringing at the fact that the way he was stuck and all of that, and he was just trying to move, and then Bananas came up on him, and Ryan was like, "Oh," and he does this thing, he throws his hands up, and I'm like, "Bro, Ryan, like, I don't know what to do with Ryan at this point. I loved him in terms of what he brought to the show, but that was just personality wise. Like he didn't do anything in terms of the game itself, and so it kind of was like, you know what, it's all right. I feel like the right gay left us this week in terms of Ryan leaving. To be honest.
Yeah. It was a lot of blunders. Like, at one point, he also, like, nearly fell off of the quad, like, in round 2. And I was like, oh, he fell off? Oh, we're done. This is over. Like, Vance is going to come back around that corner and grab the flag. But he didn't in that one. But when Ryan got stuck in, just it was just really sad to see. I'm like, but also I'm like, is it sad to see or is it just the epitome of like the game? Because you couldn't like do much. But in the end, Bananas got the flag and ran off victoriously, and he's now back in the game, and he is completely activated, and he's building a sandcastle against Tori's side of the house.
I guess so. I mean, that's what he said. But once we get to it, and it was the time to, pick targets again. He was really excited because he thought he would have the opportunity to take a shot back at Tori, and TJ ended up announcing like you can take a shot at any woman that you want in the house except for the winners. And so, Tori is doing the crying face and like, making fun of Bananas. And he was like actually pissed. Like you can actually see that he was upset and he was tight at the fact that he couldn't take a shot back at Tori right away. And I do like that also for another twist that they have added in terms of, them not being able to take a shot at the winners per se, because, I think that was just a good angle. And the fact that he was so pissed, it was just so funny to see. But then he ended up taking a shot, not at Tori, but of course her bestie in terms of Devin, and literally shot down Naya, Michelle, and Olivia. And he called Olivia a snake. And Olivia was like, I want receipts. I want to know how this. And I'm just like, girl, at this point, the fact that you even still here is just like, bruh, please, like, let just be happy about that. But it was just so funny how he decided to call all of those women out, and he said Devin's soon to be ex-girlfriend Michelle. I'm like, you know what, shots fired, and I'm not mad at it.
I wasn't mad at it either. But he called Olivia Devin's pet snake. And I'm like, this is a really random shot, but I don't mind it at all because Olivia's attached to Michelle, who was attached to Devin. So she just got by proxy. But it's also funny too because like he mentioned Naya, and he noted earlier when they were at the bar that like Naya is using her social game and she is attached to Jordan. And he has that underlying like frenemy ish that he has going on with Jordan and he doesn't want to like see him do a lot of sorts. So he's like, oh, and I feel like in his mind he's like, okay, I'm gonna take this shot at Devin's people and Michelle and her bestie, and then also take the shot at Naya because he was like Naya's attached to Jordan, and Jordan, would he save Naya? It's definitely good, and I'm thinking it's a good question. Like, would he save Naya over Tori?
I mean, it depends on the situation, to be honest. And I think we also see a preview of how Bananas can manipulate that situation with Naya to try to see, like, maybe Jordan wouldn't save you as quick as you would think. So I think Bananas is just playing the game and using what he can and playing his cards, to get to the opportunity to not only stay in the game, but at least take away the people that are closest to Jordan and Tori and that whole crew of people. So he's just using what he can to his advantage. I don't know whether or not Jordan and Naya's relationship is stronger than Tori's. I mean, I can't call it, but um, yeah, I definitely want to see how this is going to play out and whether or not Naya decides to kind of get from under Jordan's wing. Like, she can still have him as an ally, but I just think that in the past couple of seasons that we've seen Naya, it's actually just been so hard to watch her really beat up Jordan's ass. And I know she's a new person and all this other crap, but girl, please step away.
Yeah, that's the downfall of Naya's coming back in that. But this is this is actually a decent episode. Not gonna hold you. Like the drama factor when it becomes of Bananas being hyped up, it ends up being a decent episode to me. So I would give this a good rating for this episode.
Yeah, it was decent. Bananas definitely carried the episode. So shout out to him for that. And shout out to Carl for literally playing the background. Like, Carl was just giving us confessionals. And honestly, it's not in either one of the alliances. So I'm interested to see how she kind of skates on. Like, if she skates in the background or if she, gets exposed from one of the other ladies on either side of those alliances.
Yeah. And with that, we're going to move on into the tweets from this week's episode, where there are a lot of really like interesting tweets, some that I know we definitely would agree with. The first tweet: if you're going to take a shot at Bananas, do not have Derek and Ryan as an option to take him out.
I mean, that's obvious, but Derek could. I still will give Derek something over Ryan, but yeah, either or just it's not a good. It's not. It's not the shot that you want.
Yeah, because I would it would have because someone mentioned it earlier in the episode too. Like, why wouldn't you just throw Theo in the mix? Because she had no ties to Theo either, so it would have made sense. But because she told Derek that she had options that she was going to pick from the different eras, but she just like kind of switched up and just like chose all era two guys basically. So that's a very interesting little ploy too. Just like also weaken era two's like menfolk on that team because in the individuals because at this point now that Ryan's gone, it's just Derek, Bananas, and Nehemiah as the guys representing era two. And the next tweet, Michelle having a meltdown over not being a sporty girl. Oh, we need to bring back the era of all the girlies being binge drinking chain smokers who actually bring entertainment badly because what has the show come to?
I mean, we've been saying that for the past 4 seasons, I would say, in terms of the women that have been casted and how they have played the game. I mean, it's just it's just downhill from here. I just hope it doesn't continue to go downhill, but that's just the way it's looking.
Yeah, 'cause I'm like, I get we have to have a good balance. I feel like a woman in the game, but you don't gotta be She-Hulk. You can also just come in and have fun and still also compete really well and give good entertainment. Like at least with like the ladies we still have in the house that are like the top dogs, they give us entertainment of sorts. Like as batshit crazy Laurel is, she's still a good competitor. So she's good on that front with like bringing entertainment of some sort, as well as Cara, as well as Tori, at some points as well. The next tweet. Tori is really setting up Brian to go home and don't give a F about the repercussions. Also, walking into the room of men and making them kiss the ring. She's actually being a player, and I have to respect that. Because Tori playing the game this week was really, I really give her a good motion for that because that's the most active I've seen her really like work this week in a while either.
I mean, she had to make the move, and she doesn't have anyone to really fall back on. And I think that the fact that she won with Jordan also helped her push her to make that move because in past we probably would have seen her been swayed to being like, oh, I'm not going to choose him, I'm not going to take the shot, da da da. But I think Jordan with her empowered her to continue to play the game.
Yeah, and the guys were very like the guys that she was really like in a room with, like they like her to an extent. So like whatever like she was rolling with, they were rolling with. Like I didn't never think that Theo would like kind of align with her, but he's aligned with her and like was rolling with it because they don't want to like they don't want to see bananas in the final. Like Corey, his plight, he's been on the show, has been trying to get out the big dogs, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm good. She's good to do that." Like all of them are okay with doing that because you don't want to see bananas down the line. You also don't want to see Jordan down the line because he's gonna probably whoop dust with y'all. But he's like in a good position because, like you said earlier, he's in like one of the top two of the men but he's just playing his position, and that's very smart on his part.
Yep.
And the last tweet, since she finally popped up at the end of the episode, has Olivia done anything this season? I keep forgetting she is on this season. Norris getting eliminated first instead of her was a major loss.
I mean, for sure, but then once Horacio left, I feel like Nerese would have been either she would have been fired up like she was last season, or she would have probably just been upset and, you know, being coy. But either way, Olivia's still there, so we still have to deal with her.
Yeah. Because I think even with if Norris was still there, I don't know who she would have been aligned with, to be honest. Like and she would have still been in she would have been in the background like after Horacio left, like you said. But it would have been more hyped to see her, I feel like, still in the game. Because Nerys and Aviv are like one and the same with like ability and just like navigating, I feel like, the game.
Okay,
But
I can see it.
yeah, because like obviously, like because Olivia's attached to someone who has a target on their back, even anyways. Like if it would have been a different outcome. I feel like for Nerys, like at this point, she would have been gone probably at this point in the game, but she probably would have been a little bit longer because Aviv is still holding on strong with not that many relationships either.
Yeah, but this is the first week of individual, so we'll see how that goes and how it plays out with not only Aviv in her new alliance with Bananas, but also Olivia and her side of things. So, yeah.
But that's the recap for this week's episode.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back next week to discuss more of the challenge. If you would like to follow us on Twitter, you can at Duel Alliance Pod. You can follow us individually on Twitter. You can follow Megan at Megan Hines and myself at Ace_S5. And if you are listening to this podcast, you can watch it on YouTube at Duel Alliance Podcast. And we'll be back. Bye, guys.
Bye.